my goal is to make primetime session and podium top 5. And he's like, you're making primetime and you're going to make top 3.
Hello and welcome to the Women of Powerlifting podcast. I'm your host, Daisy May Reyes. So today we have a very special guest with us. Her name is Robin Ray. She has an incredible journey to share. So welcome, Robin.
Hey, Daisy. Thanks for having me.
Let's start off by telling us a little bit about yourself and how you got started in powerlifting.
I got started in powerlifting. I did 1 year of weights in high school.
Mm-hmm.
My senior year in high school, I had to have an electives class, so I chose weights, and
Okay.
that just ended up turning into competitions at the end of the school year. And so me and my best friend went to different various meets together, and weights and competitions at that time was squats, bench, and power cleans.
So how was that
I'm
first
like,
experience?
I didn't like the power cleans so much. um,
So which one did
but
you prefer before?
squats and bench were always fun.
Okay.
But deadlifts were not one of the lifts in competition back then.
Ah,
So it was squats, bench, and power cleans.
okay. And so
And
squat was your favorite.
bench.
Uh,
Yeah, definitely bench.
so
I think
were
it's
you
still my
instantly
favorite.
hooked? Yeah, were you instantly hooked right away when you started those power cleans and squat and bench?
I really was, because it gave me something to progress at and push
Mhm.
myself. Back then it was the bigger, faster, stronger program that they pushed in the weights classes. So, obviously your goal throughout the year was to progress and get bigger, faster, and
Yeah.
stronger. Uh, until it come time to competitions, then our coach goes, all right, guys, you need to stop eating those potatoes and rice because we're going to start competing.
So, Robin, have you
uh,
always worked with a coach before, or do you always work on your own?
no, so in 2014, I was actually competing for a figure competition. And I volunteered to compete in a push-pull for a guy that was battling cancer. So it was a
Mm.
fundraiser for him for his cancer treatments. Went back to uh, bodybuilding training, and in 2015, it was the Spring Power Challenge, I think is what it was called at the time, over in Spokane. It was a push-pull, and I took my dad to that, and that was the one and only competition that my dad got to go to because he passed away a month later.
Oh, I'm
And
so
so from there, I was like, still kind of on the fence. Do I want to do bodybuilding? Do I want to do powerlifting? And the gym owner at the time of the
mm,
gym that I was going to, he still owns the gym. I just don't go there anymore because thanks COVID, I now have my own stuff. But he told me, he said, Robin, well, you can be good at both of them or you can be great at one. You can't be great at both. And yeah, he was right. So in August of 2015, I decided to switch focus and competed in my first USAPL full power competition. And from there, I was hooked. So
wow.
yeah, August of 2015, I decided to switch focus, and here I am still doing it 9 years later.
Wow, yeah, I could remember the first time we met, and that was in 2016. Um, it was the Spokane, it was the Spokane, I think, what was it called? Empire Classic.
Yeah.
And that's the first time I met you. And I remember you telling me that that was your first time. That was your well, your first year competing because you started in 2015. So when we were
Yep.
talking, like you were like, brand new. Like I we were like in the same time. But
Yeah.
you know, and for me, like I had something happen. I have that I had to pull back a little bit and
Yeah.
a big pause. But for you, you inspire me a lot because you kept going, you know, and 9 years later, you're still here going strong, and now you're competing. Are you competing in nationals now, right?
I am. I'm in prep for nationals. Yes.
Yes. And is this your second national? How many national competitions?
This will be my third nationals.
Third now.
Um, because they can't. I didn't. What was it? 2019 nationals. I didn't make it to. 2020, of course, they canceled. Then I went to 2021 nationals down in Daytona Beach. 2022, obviously, I couldn't train because I had a broken ankle. 2023, the whole Instagram announcement by USAPL. We're capping at 1,150 lifters, and they had already had over 700, and within 30 minutes it was full, so I couldn't get registered for nationals last year. So as soon as registration opened this year, I was on it.
I think that's the
So
key,
yeah.
right? You have to be like you have to
Oh
be
yeah,
very
I already had
consistent.
everything filled out, all the information. All I had to do was hit send.
You're right. So for newbie lifters, if you're gonna compete, you cannot, wait. You have to be very,
Yeah.
instant decision.
Well,
So
and for 2025, they changed the rules. You can't use a local competition as your qualifying total. It
mm,
either has to be a state, regional, nationals, or worlds total to even be able to register for nationals next year. So they're making it a little bit more exclusive, a little bit more uh yeah, more height, more exclusive to your top lifters instead of just leaving it open to even, all the new lifters that are coming in. They're going to have to at least hit a regionals or a state competition, and hit a qualifying total there to be able to register for nationals. So I do like the direction that USAPL is going with that, because 1,100, 1,200 lifters for a nationals competition it takes away the star factor of it, so to speak. Um, for a lot of people, myself, it didn't matter to me, but I do like the direction that they're going with it.
yeah, and it also gives the new powerlifters more motivation and inspiration
Hmm.
to really
Oh
move
yeah.
up the ladder, right?
Yep. Oh yeah. Yeah.
So that's great. So speaking of your hurdle back in um I guess the year that you said 2014. Oh no, 2023 when you hurt your ankle.
2022 when I broke my ankle. Yeah.
Oh yeah. So like what was that your significant turning point? Um
Um, that was one of two. So my first one was a really high hamstring sprain post 2018 nationals leading up into worlds. I ramped up too soon after nationals and had a
mhm.
really high hamstring sprain underneath my glute. And even going into worlds, it was still bothering me. So I competed at worlds in 2019 injured.
Oh
But
wow.
I had spent so much money to go, and just having the honor to represent our country at such an event was an honor. So I was like, I'm not missing this.
That's true. So you competed with just that minor injury, you would
Yeah.
say? Yeah.
Mhm.
And how did it go? How did your body respond after and
You,
during with the injury?
I got really lucky because my coach, he picked me up in the beginning of 2016, and we've been together ever since. He knows my body. He knows what my body responds to. So we kind of just worked around that and did what we could to just even squeak out a decent deadlift at Worlds, because it wasn't affecting my squats and obviously wasn't affecting my bench press either. Um, so that was the first year that I even started training any kind of sumo, just to keep the back involved in some of the posterior muscles. And I lucked out, in the Airbnb host, the owner of the Airbnb that I stayed at, um, or I don't know if he still is, but at the time he was Sweden's number one soccer team physiotherapist. So he did a lot of work on that muscle. I want to say four sessions with him, and for the first time I was able to pull pain free.
No way.
Yeah.
You were so
So
lucky to actually have the
I know.
Airbnb owner right there in your competition. How lucky is
Yeah.
that?
Oh, I know, right? So he picks me up from the train station because it was really late at night. And we're talking about worlds. So I was like, yeah, he's like, so you're gonna win, right? I was like, well, I really hope so. I've, dealing with an injury and not sure how my body is gonna handle that. And he's like, I can help you. And I looked at him and I'm like, what are you, a doctor or something? He goes, I know some things. And I was like, and I didn't have anything to lose. I was like, okay, send it. So yeah, I'm super thankful that things just worked out in God's plan, and it was just all like, okay, so this is how it's gonna happen.
Right. Isn't that amazing? It's like a blessing, like
Yeah.
leading you toward your victory. It's just
Yes,
like
absolutely.
amazing. Wow. That just makes me feel so great. So, um, what other ways that you overcome any hurdles like that? Like whenever you have an injury, whenever you have a setback, how did you overcome many of those in your training and mixing life also?
So mentally, it was. I'm not gonna lie, it was a struggle, especially when I broke my ankle. Not lifting related. I was down in Las Vegas playing a women's softball tournament at the Sin City Classic, which is the largest gay games event. There's different sports, but I played women's softball with my team out of Alamogordo, New Mexico, called Beer Money. And we were in, I think, the sixth inning. I didn't know the score, and I'm not one to just kind of halfway do things. So I slide into second base. The base doesn't move, and I break my medial malleolus in my ankle. Well, I didn't know it was broke. I just thought, it's just a sprain. I'll be fine. And I get up and I try to walk, and I'm like, oh crap, this really hurts. So thankfully, I had some nurses and PTs on my team, and they wrapped it up really quick right away. And I was able to kind of hobble around on it. I'm like, no, I'm fine. I'm fine. Um, get up the next inning to hit. Well, I get a good hit, and I take off to run to first base, and I'm like, oh no, this is not good. I can't even run. So that and it was late at night when our game was over. We ended up winning the entire championship 13-0.
Oh,
So
that's
my
good.
and I didn't know this until the following year. Our team captain goes, we were winning 13-0 when you did that. I was like, I didn't know. Nobody told me. So go to urgent care down in Las Vegas. They take x-rays. Yep, it's broke. Then I get here. So I get home, go see my doctor, go see a ortho where they also run an MRI. So I also had a very high sprain in the ligament that goes in between your two bones. It was about that far up.
Wow.
So I had to have those two bones screwed together so that ligament could heal and reattach to the bones. So yeah, that was a struggle. At first I was like, no big deal, this is gonna be fine, I'll still be able to compete. No. It's like, nope. So I think that was the beginning of a downward spiral for me. Mentally, just felt defeated. And thankfully I had my daughters here who are my rocks. And they're just like, Mom, this is fine. It's just a bump in the road. You're going to come back stronger. And my coach, same thing. Just do what you can. You're going to come back stronger. And then when I finally was cleared to start lifting again, 110 pounds on a squat bar was really humbling. So, yeah. But yeah, that was probably the biggest struggle of my powerlifting career is overcoming that injury and um basically having to rebuild myself from the ground up. But
Yeah.
yeah, here I am.
Yeah, I love that. And thank you for, like sharing that story because it's you demonstrating how you push through it, right?
Yeah, the motivation wasn't always there. It was more the support group and the discipline of, okay, this isn't going to do itself. This isn't going to help itself. I'm going to have to get down there. Um, Powerlifting did take a back seat for about a year and a half, and in that time frame, it wasn't just the injury, but it was a new relationship and building that, and we're now married, so not all bad.
There you go. Yeah. So would you say that your setback has gained you something?
I would say it's actually put me in the mindset to appreciate what you have when you have it, um, and know that it's not the end of the world if you do have a setback, and you know your body's going to do what it can, and your mind is your only holdback. So I mean, your body's a lot stronger than what your mind gives it credit for.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Thank you for that. So let's talk about some of your proudest moments. And what are some of the most significant achievements in powerlifting?
um so I'm going to start with 2018 nationals. um Everybody knows who Megan Scanlon is. She
Mhm.
decided to unicorn cut to 57 kilos that year, and I was like, crap. But I had so much fun at that competition. I told my coach, I said, my goal is to make primetime session and podium top 5. And he's like, you're making primetime and you're going to make top 3. I was like, sweet. So we get through squats and bench, and I'm like, holy crap, I'm actually up there with the top lifters in the nation. And I was like, this is so cool. And so we get to deadlifts, and I think I'd pulled 182.5 to cement myself in third place, um, with the possibility of second place. And Melissa Barber had to pull, I think it was Melissa Barber had to pull her very last deadlift. I think she put 212 on the bar. I mean, insane. So I think she had to hit that to take over second place, and it just wasn't there for her that day. So I finished in second, not knowing. I'm talking to Arian Kamesi backstage as they're handing out awards. I'm like, I got third place. I got third place. I'm so stoked. He's like, Robin, you got second. I was like, no way. So, I mean, I was like so stoked and so like surprised. I was like, no way. This is so cool. So that was like probably what my first moment where I actually had a super strong group of ladies to share the platform with. And that second place medal is the only second place medal that I've ever felt like was a gold place, because Megan was just so much further above even second place. So it felt like the battle was for second place. There was no battle for first. Megan just ran away with that one. So kudos to her. But yeah, it was, so there was that one. And then going into Worlds the following year, and competing injured and just squeaking out my third deadlift, which was red lighted the same way red lighted on my second lift for downward movement. I managed to pull it, my third pull at Worlds, and got dubbed Sugar Ray Robin by Six Pack Lepidat Ryan. Thanks, dude. But yeah, that was probably my second. And um my brother is the one sibling I grew up with my entire life. So he's always been my rock as well. Sorry for the emotions, but I'm reliving that moment. So it was, I want to say it was Ray Harris videoed me. I was like, we did it, Bubba, we did it. And that was probably my proudest moment, to know that I overcame a pretty significant injury to do what I set out to do, which was to become a world champion and make my brother proud.
Yes, and I'm sure that he is very proud looking out for you, guiding you
Yeah.
through your victory, right?
Yeah. Well, my brother's a retired arm wrestling champion, world arm wrestling champion. So I'm like, I gotta do this. But I know even if I would have taken second, just the honor of being invited to represent USA at Worlds would have made him proud. So yeah.
Yeah. And I'm sure that you always do. You always make him proud, always.
Yeah.
So thank you, Robin, for that beautiful. I know it's hard to share the vulnerable moments, but I appreciate you for sharing that. So and sharing your tears with us. So thank you.
I try
Yeah.
not to.
It happens. So, Robin, thank you for that. I know many of our listeners are just starting out with powerlifting. When you mentioned 82, 182 and a half and 212, is that in pounds or kilos? Can you just
That's
brief the new
that's
lifters?
kilos. That's kilos.
Yeah. So kilos are like twice the, actually 2.2, uh, I think pounds times that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, 2.2 pounds, on average, 2.2046 to be exact, but 2.2 pounds per kilo.
yes. So that's a lot of weight on that bar.
A lot of weight.
Yes,
Still
as I
trying,
mentioned,
still trying to pull that again, but we'll
yeah,
see. Age is time isn't on my side anymore. I'm going downwards.
right, because you're now competing in the master's level now, right?
Yes. Yeah, I've been in masters since June of 2019 when I went to Worlds.
Yes,
I
that's
turned I turned 20. I turned 20. I turned 40 in 2019.
yes. Oh, good. 40 is always that beautiful number, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. We can add 20. We can reduce that to 20. So that's actually good.
That would be
But
great.
then it would be harder to compete at 20 because it's open powerlifting. So all age are welcome and you're competing at all
Yeah.
age. Go.
Well,
So
20 is junior still.
that's true. So, as I mentioned, many of our listeners are just either starting out in powerlifting or looking to take their training into the next level. So, what advice would you give those women who are just starting out?
My advice would be to find a coach that suits your lifting style and stick with them. Far too often you see new lifters bounce around from coach to coach to coach, because this coach didn't meet their needs here, this coach didn't meet their needs here, which is understandable in the beginning. But once you find somebody who pushes you without risking injury, that's the coach you want to go with, and just stick with them. You know, it would have been super easy for me to switch coaches after nationals or even after worlds, but my coach and I, we have learned and grown together. um and his training style now is so that it pushes you without risking injury. So for me as a masters lifter, that's very important. And it also gives me the confidence in knowing that he's pushing numbers that are based on science and charts and data. Um, he's a numbers guru and just absolutely does his research before he sends it to somebody. If anybody's interested, his name is Justin Anderson. Justin Anderson Powerlifting, I think, is what his email is. But I refer him to everybody because he has grown so much in the sport, and he doesn't program anything that he's not willing to do himself.
That's good to know. Thank you, Robin. And he seems like a very genuine coach that really needs to know their student first. understanding their body mechanics, understanding
Yep.
also their mental mindset, like their capabilities. And do you feel that that's important when looking for a coach?
It's highly important. And one of the things that I see, that I understand, there's coaches that have a lot of different athletes, and you get check-ins once a week, or uh, form checks once a week or twice a week. And I can send him a video at 8 o'clock at night, and he watches it and gives me feedback. Mostly it's just to make sure that I'm not sandbagging my RPE, because I'm gonna be honest, sometimes I do, and he's like, no. So he holds me accountable, and having that almost instant feedback is very important to me. And like I said, not a lot of coaches can give their athletes that. And his prices do not reflect that at all. So like, he's super affordable, very down to earth. And this is a hobby for him. It's not his sole source of income. He uses his coaching funds to fund his dirt biking hobby. So, I mean, he does it because he loves it, not because he's trying to make a living at it.
That's beautiful. And can you briefly explain what RPE is for the
So
new?
RPE is rate of perceived exertion. So if you hit a single or however many reps that are in the program, your RPE is what you feel like, how many more reps can you do after that. So if you feel like you can do 3 more reps, then that's an RPE 7. You feel like you can do 2 more reps, it's an RPE 8. And there's even a RPE 8.5. So if you're like, oh, well, that one moved okay, but it was slow, I think I might have got a half of one, then it would be like an RPE 9.5. If you feel like you could only do half a more rep, well, I think I might have been able to come halfway up with that squat, or halfway up with that bench press. I might have been able to pull it to my knees for deadlifts. That would be considered a half RPE.
Yeah, I like that way of measurement because it includes your mindset, not just hitting the number, right?
Right. Yeah. And that's where recording each one of your, like, if you have a top set that's supposed to be an RPE 8, you obviously want to record every single one of those sets, because it might feel like a 9, but when you go back and watch it and it looks like a 7, yeah, you're kind of sandbagging mentally. So you need to adjust your programming based on what you see and feel. So that would technically be an RPE of an 8.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And that's with the help of a coach, because sometimes if we do it
Yeah.
ourselves, we don't see what we really are going through. We think that we are hitting it, but
Yeah.
with a second set of eyes, it's like, nope, you're really not. This is where
Yeah.
you need to be. And yeah, and it humbles us, a coach helps us to really stay focused. And
Yep.
so, yeah, and so how do you stay motivated and focused in your training?
The motivation's not always there. Not even gonna lie, because it's not, especially with just getting married in June. I want to spend more time with my husband instead of downstairs in the basement training. So there's that lack of motivation. And when you lack the motivation, you have to turn to your discipline and actually just, okay, I got to put my head down and do the work, whether I want to or not, because the weights don't lie.
Yeah.
And if you're cutting training sessions, guilty, as charged. I have. It shows on the platform, and you have nobody to blame for your subpar performance but yourself.
That's very true. So, what do you think is the most important quality for success in powerlifting?
I think the most important quality, and that's one of the things I love about my coach, be better than you were yesterday. Holds me accountable to pushing myself. with
like
this
I said,
many
without
reps
injuring
yesterday. Let's see
myself.
if I can
So I
squeeze
mean,
out
if I
one
feel like
more,
I can
or let's
do
see
how
how
much further I
you
can
know,
push
walking
myself.
lunges with
And that's
dumbbells.
one of the things I love
Hate
about my
him,
coach,
love him,
because
hate him.
he
You know,
holds me accountable
take your
to
pick.
pushing
You either love
myself
me, you hate him. I
with,
personally hate
like I
him.
said, without injuring
But
myself.
I do them.
So I mean, if I feel like I can do
So,
one
you
more
know,
rep,
I'll
you
push
know,
myself
walking lunges
to a
with
9 or
dumbbells,
9.5
hate them,
RPE
love
and
them,
log
hate
it
them,
and move
you
on.
know, take your pick. You either love them or you hate them. I personally hate them, but I do them. So, you know, I'll push myself to a 9 or 9.5 RPE and log it and move on.
Yeah, I love that. You know, you just love them or hate them, but you do it
Yeah.
anyway.
Yeah, you're not always going to love everything that's in your programming.
That's a newbie tip. So remember that.
Yeah, yeah.
So Robin, what's next for you in your powerlifting journey? And do you have any upcoming goals or competitions?
I have nationals in Salt Lake City. In what is this, 6.5, 7, just under 7 weeks out. That's my next milestone. Have a couple just turned 40 newer lifters that are gonna prove tough, and I'm really looking forward to sharing the platform with them. I also have my best friend Cheryl Stewart. We get to actually share the platform for the first time, and so I'm really looking forward to that one as well. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to seeing Cheryl, and it's been probably a year since I've got to see her. She was supposed to be one of my bridesmaids, but weather in Florida had other plans. So unfortunately she didn't get to make it, but I get to see her at nationals. So I'm really looking forward to reconnecting with her and seeing her.
That's good. That's beautiful. At least the reunion is in the platform too,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, how can our listeners follow and support you in your, next meet?
I post all of my lifting stuff on Instagram. You can find me at Tuffie7. That's TUFFIE and the number 7. That's basically where I put all of my training, lifting videos. There's some personal stuff in there too, just kind of, hey, you know, life isn't all powerlifting, but that's where I post all of my lifting stuff, is on Instagram.
All right. And do you have any final words of encouragements to our audience, especially the new lifters?
Just if you're not enjoying it, find out, rediscover your why. Why did you start doing it? And only you can answer that. So if you can't come out with an answer of why you enjoy doing it, maybe you might want to reconsider. It's not really the sport for you. And there's nothing wrong with that. So, you know, if you're not doing this sport because you enjoy it or you love it, or you know, whatever your why is, then it's time to reassess that, and just find your support system. I'm more than happy to be anybody's sounding board. Would love to follow anybody in their journey and just support you as best I can, and just see how far you can go.
Right. That's beautiful. Thank you, Robin. And to all the listeners, Robin Ray has shared so much wonderful insights for all of you. And hopefully you could take to heart how to listen to your body, how to really prepare mentally when you lift, and also how to, um, find the right coach that will help you succeed in your powerlifting journey. So, Robin, thank you so much again for sharing the incredible story and insights with us. And it's been a pleasure having you on the show. And to our listeners, thank you for tuning in to the Women of Powerlifting podcast. And if you enjoyed today's episode, please leave us a comment and subscribe so you don't miss any future episodes. And you can find us here on YouTube at Women of Powerlifting. And also, you can follow us on Facebook and Instagram. So until next time, keep lifting and stay strong and aim to dominate. Right here. But the
Yes.
domination is yourself, not the world. I mean, you can take
I
over the
still
world.
have my God Arch tank top that you gave me.
Oh,
I still
yeah.
have that one. I love that tank top. Got Arch because it's so taboo and so controversial with people that don't know this sport. So thank you very much for that. And thank you for having me, Daisy.
Thank you. Thank you. To our listeners, thank you for tuning in to the Women of Powerlifting podcast. If you enjoyed today's episode, please leave us a comment and subscribe so you don't miss any future episodes. You can find us here on YouTube at Women of Powerlifting and follow us on Facebook and Instagram. Until next time, keep lifting and stay strong.